Yo, what's up guys, hope you guys are doing good. So today we are going to see what if Naruto got lighting style chakra by accident part 2. Hope you will enjoy this video, so before we start please like the video and subscribe to our channel and hit bell notification, it motivates me to upload more fanfics for my lovely audience. So let's get started. Last night was a very hectic night for Naruto. He was attacked by a group of villagers and shinobi. His new apartment and all of his new clothes were burnt down. And he had killed several people last night. The fact that he had actually killed someone came to him during the middle of the night. Strangely, he felt no remorse but only satisfaction that he had defended himself. After a while, he thought nothing of it and went back to sleep. But today was a very important day for Naruto. It was his first day at the Ninja Academy. Hiruzen had woken him up early and got him a new set of clothes. Now he was heading out towards the Ninja Academy. The villagers were still giving him dirty looks, but right now Naruto didn't care. All he was thinking about was how awesome his classes were going to be. After a 10-minute walk, he finally arrived at the Ninja Academy. It seemed like the teachers were not allowing anybody in yet. So every student and their parents were now waiting outside of the academy. As soon as Naruto stepped onto the campus, everyone's eyes landed on him. Naruto stood nervously as hundreds of eyes seemed to try to pierce into his soul. Slowly Naruto could see the piercing eyes turn into disgusted sneers. It seemed like each one of the parents hated Naruto. Naruto slowly put his head down to avoid the stares. After several seconds, one of the civilian parents decided to confront Naruto. "What are you doing here, demon?" The civilian said. "No matter what you do, no matter how much you help them, they will always hate you. In their eyes all they see is a demon. You are pathetic if you think you can change that," Kyuubi said in a mocking voice. Naruto growled but quickly composed himself. He turned to civilian with a wide smile on his face that seemed to scream innocence. "I came here to learn like your children," Naruto said. "Don't act like you are like my children, you disgusting piece of trash," the civilian said. Naruto clenched his fist in anger. He knew that he couldn't attack the civilians just because of insults. "Who says you couldn't? If they insulted me, I would have tore through their bodies," Kyuubi said. "Look, I just want to learn. Please leave me alone and return to your children," Naruto said. The civilian kneeled down and came face to face with Naruto. "Are you threatening me, brat?" the civilian said while in Naruto's face. Naruto got closer and squinted his eyes in anger. "No, I'm advising you to go back to your children before you embarrass yourself," Naruto said. The civilian huffed and then reeled back his arm. He was about to punch Naruto, but his arm was stopped by a ninja. The civilian looked back at the ninja and the ninja shook its head at him. The civilian huffed again before lowering his arm. He shot Naruto a dirty look again before returning to his family. Naruto decided to leave the man alone and waited for the teacher to address the students. For now he had to deal with the massive amount of dirty he was receiving from the parents of the students. "I really hoped he punched you. I want to see you kill again," Kyuubi said. After several minutes of pure agony for Naruto, the principal of the school came out to address the students and their parents. "Hello everybody. Today is a wonderful day for Konoha. For today we shall start the education of another great generation of Konoha ninja," the principal said. A roar of cheer from both the parents and students rang through the village. It seemed like everybody was excited for the start of his or her ninja careers. The principal nodded at the obvious excitement. "Well, I won't keep you waiting anymore. Students, file into the academy. A genin will guide you to your assigned classroom," the principal said. The students said their last goodbyes to their parents before running into the building. Naruto decided to wait for everybody to go in before going in himself. After several minutes Naruto decided to go in. The lobby of the academy was still filled with students. He could see several students his age going in a certain direction and decided to follow them. After going through what seemed to be a maze of hallways they finally arrived at their classroom. The genin guide led them in and closed the door when everybody was inside. Waiting for them in the room was a teacher. The teacher seemed very young. He had pineapple-shaped hair and a scar going across his nose. He had a gentle smile on his face. Hello everyone, I am Aruka Yumino, but you can call me Aruka Sensei or Yumino Sensei. I will be your teacher during your time at the Ninja Academy. Aruka said. The class nodded and started to file into the seats. Naruto, using his advanced speed, managed to get the seat that was directly in the corner. Aruka made sure everybody was seated and started to go through roll. Naruto decided to lay his head down until his name was called. Naruto Uzu. Maki. Aruka said hesitantly. Looks like your teacher is another one of your haters. Kyuubi said. Naruto raised his head and said here. When he raised his head he came eye to eye with Aruka. Naruto could see a lot of hate hidden in his eyes. Naruto sighed before laying his head back down. This was not going to be a very good experience for Naruto. Later that day, Naruto barged into the Sarutobi clan home with his head down. He marched towards him appointed room and slammed the door behind him. He would not answer for anybody, even Asuma. Hokage Tower. Hiruzen was currently buried under the bane of all leaders, paperwork. It seemed like he was getting a lot of complaints with Naruto going to the academy this morning. Suddenly Asuma barged into Hiruzen's office. Now usually Hiruzen would be mad, but he was currently in the need of a break. What's wrong, Asuma-kun? Hiruzen said. When Naruto got home from the academy today, he immediately locked himself in his room. I suspect something bad happened to him at the academy today. Asuma said. Hiruzen sighed and nodded. He had figured something would go wrong today. I understand. Leave him alone until I get home. I'll try to see if I can coax him out of his room. Hiruzen said. Asuma nodded and then shunshined away. Hiruzen sighed and then got back to his paperwork. Couple hours later, Hiruzen had finally left his office and was now on his way home. The whole time he was doing paperwork, he was also worrying about Naruto. Hiruzen arrived at his house and walked through the doors. Asuma and his grandson Konohamaru immediately greeted him. He waved hello before going upstairs to Naruto. Hiruzen arrived at Naruto's room. He lightly knocked on the door. He got no response. Naruto-kun, it's me. Hiruzen said softly. Hiruzen waited several seconds and then heard a click. He twisted the handle of the door and was in. He saw Naruto was sitting on his bed with his head down. Hiruzen sat on the bed next to Naruto. Naruto, what happened at the academy? Hiruzen asked. Naruto remained quiet for a while before lifting his head. They kicked me out. As soon as the teacher saw me, he kicked me out of the room. He said I didn't deserve to learn in his class. I wasn't even allowed to attend the first lesson. Naruto said. Stop bitching about it, you fucking pussy. If they annoy you, just kill them. Kyuubi said. Hiruzen fist tightened to an extreme measure. He had assigned Aruka to teach Naruto because he thought he was able to get over his hatred for him. Obviously that did not happen. It's okay, Naruto-kun. Your teacher was just acting stupid. I promise it won't happen again. Hiruzen said. You say that, but it will happen. These villagers hate me. One day the villagers will push me to Gar and then. Naruto stopped talking as sparks started to fly off him rapidly. Hiruzen placed his hand onto Naruto's shoulder to calm him. After several seconds Naruto calmed down. Naruto-kun, I will personally deal with your new teacher. I guarantee you that you will no longer get treated like that in the academy again. Hiruzen said. Naruto looked up at Hiruzen's eyes. He saw the honesty and truth in his eyes. Naruto nodded. When Hiruzen saw that Naruto was now okay, he smiled. Good, now go asleep. Imagine that tomorrow is your first day at the academy. Hiruzen said. Naruto jumped back into his bed and quickly fell asleep. Hopefully tomorrow was better for him. Hiruzen left the room and went to his at-home office. He threw his hand up and two Anbu appeared in front of him. I want you to bring me Aruka Yumino immediately. I don't care if he is asleep or having sex. I want him here now. Hiruzen said, yelled with barely contained anger. The two Anbu disappeared in a shunshin. After 5 minutes the two Anbu reappeared with Aruka in their grasp. He looked tired, confused and angry. Hokage-sama, why did you summon me this late at night? Can't this wait until the morning? Aruka asked groggily. Hiruzen slowly stood up and seemed to glide towards Aruka. He looked at him for several seconds before suddenly thrusted his hand out and wrapped it around Aruka's neck. He then lifted Iruka by his neck. I warned you, Yumino. I fucking warned you. Yet you didn't believe me. I said you were to treat him regularly like the other children, yet you didn't do it. I should kill you for your ignorance. Hiruzen said angrily. Iruka's hands were flying up to Hiruzen's. He was trying to peel Hiruzen's hands off his neck. Unfortunately, it was a desperate and worthless attempt. Hiruzen was just too strong and too angry to let go right now. Unfortunately, you are the only teacher that can change their ways. So for now I will allow you to live. But if you dare go against my orders again and do something to hurt Naruto, I will wipe your existence from this planet. Hiruzen said. Hiruzen loosened his grip and Iruka fell to the floor in a coughing and shivering pile of flesh. Hiruzen looked down onto with disgust. Get him out my office and return him to his house. Make sure to remind him that he still has to teach tomorrow. Hiruzen said. The Anbu nodded and then grabbed Iruka. They then disappeared in a shunshin. Hiruzen sighed and then returned to bed. Sometimes being the Hokage required a little tough love. Next day, Naruto awoke the next morning feeling refreshed and excited for his first day at the academy. He was hoping that his teacher wouldn't be such an asshole this time. After having a hearty breakfast and saying goodbye to Asuma and Hiruzen, Naruto took off to the academy. As usual, he had to deal with the constant glares and harsh whispers from the villagers. But Naruto paid no attention to the villagers and continued his journey to the academy. After several minutes he arrived at the academy. Naruto walked into the classroom and took his seat in the corner of the room. He was the first to arrive, so he decided to lay his head down. After about 10 minutes the first of the students started to trickle into the room. By now Naruto had fallen asleep, so he paid no attention to his fellow students. If he had been awake he would have noticed that the arriving students seemed to be trying to avoid sitting next to him. It seemed that their parents heard that Naruto was in their class and told them to avoid him. After 10 more minutes the remaining students filed into the room. Naruto woke up from his little nap to see Iruka walking into the room. As soon as Iruka saw Naruto, his face tightened. His smile became forced and his stance became defensive. Luckily for him he was able to play it off, because if he didn't, the Anbu outside of the academy would have captured him and kill him. Iruka took a seat at the desk and started to take roll. When he got to Naruto's name, he gave a small pause before forcing out the name. Naruto gave a weak, here. After that Iruka continued to roll with no problems. After taking roll Iruka started the class. Okay class, the first thing we will start going over is the history of Konoha. If you would please turn to page 5 in your history book. Iruka said. All of the class let out a groan but still took out their textbooks. As soon as Naruto saw the page of the textbook he knew today was going to be very boring. Kami, kill me now. Naruto thought to himself. I'll gladly do it for her. Kyuubi said. Midday lunch break. Students filed out the academy, excited to be able to take a break and meet up with their new friends. Naruto was also excited to have the opportunity to meet some new friends. Naruto saw 2 girls playing alone and decided to try and talk to them. Sakura Haruno had never been a very popular girl. She would usually stay in the house to try to avoid talking to other children. But today she met her new friend Ino and that all changed. Ino had made Sakura more talkative and open to new people. But now they were both playing in the field during their recess. Naruto slowly walked up to the 2 girls. He lightly tapped Sakura on her shoulder. She turned around in surprise to see a blonde-haired boy standing behind her nervously. She smiled and waved at him. Hello, my name is Naruto Uzumaki. I was wondering if you wanted to play with me. Naruto said. Sakura's face fell when she heard Naruto's name. Her mother had told her that he was a demon and was the reason her brother and uncle had died. No. My mother said you were a demon and I shouldn't play with you. Sakura said. Tech. What a childish excuse. This girl is going to grow up weak if she idly believes everything her parents say. Kyuubi suggested. Naruto's face fell but then returned to normal when he remembered Ino was still there. He turned to her but his face fell again when he saw the expression on her face. It was a look of disgust. Naruto turned around with tears in his eyes and saw that his entire class seemed to be looking at him with disgust and mistrust in his eyes. When Naruto saw this, he dashed away, crying. As soon as he ran away, the bell rung signaling that recess was over. The students filed back into the room and not a thought was given to Naruto. With Naruto was running through the forest with his fist in his eyes. He was really upset that all of his classmates hated him like their parents. Naruto ran through the forest blindly in an attempt to put as much distance from him and his classmates. Naruto ran through the forest dodging trees and jumping over log. Naruto jumped over a log and landed on the ground. Or he would have landed on the ground if it weren't a pit hole. Naruto fell into the hole screaming. Naruto fell onto the ground with a loud thump. He groaned as he got up. Naruto faced the pit hole and tried to climb his way back up. Unfortunately, the slope was too slippery to climb up. Naruto tried to use chakra to stick to the slope, but the slope was not responding to his chakra. He groaned and decided to explore the cave. Naruto slowly walked into the cave with his senses raised. He had to make sure to avoid any traps or enemy. Naruto continued to travel further and further into the cave. After a half of hour of exploring, Naruto entered into a cavern. The cavern contained a podium with a large scroll on it. The walls were littered with hanging plants and bloody claw marks on it. "Don't open that scroll," Kyuubi suddenly said. Naruto seemed confused at Kyuubi's sudden speech but decided to go against the beast's order. Naruto walked up to the scroll and took it off of the podium. The podium suddenly started to shake as the entrance was suddenly blocked by a large amount of rock. Blades started to swing from the ceiling in an attempt to kill Naruto. Naruto dropped the scroll and dropped his body onto the floor. The blades swung useless above Naruto. Suddenly the floor started to open under him. Fire started to spew out of the opening. Naruto pushed himself off the ground and onto the wall. The fire started to melt the hanging blades. After 5 minutes the flames stopped. The room stopped shaking. Naruto sighed in relief and went over and picked up the scroll. He opened and saw that the scroll was blank. The top of the scroll was decorated with 2 pure black cat-like creatures. The top of the contract held instruction telling Naruto how to sign it and the hand signs that go with it. Naruto sighed and then took out a kunai and sliced his finger. He then spelled his name out in his blood. Suddenly a cloud of smoke appeared around Naruto and the scroll. The smoke cleared seconds later and nothing seemed to have changed. Naruto searched around his body to find a difference. Naruto looked at his arm and gasped at the new ornament. A tattoo of the cat-like creature that ran the length of his arm was now on his arm. The creature had his mouth open and seemed to be in a pouncing position. Naruto looked back at the scroll to see what he needed to do. Naruto went through the hand signs and then slammed his hands onto the ground. A human-sized puff of smoke appeared next to him. Naruto heard some loud growling coming from the smoke. Suddenly the creature that was on his arm pounced out of the smoke. Naruto managed to dodge the creature, only due to his training. The creature landed and growled at Naruto. It pounced once again at Naruto. Naruto ducked under it and managed to land a punch the creature in the stomach. The creature slammed into the ground in a heap of black fur. Naruto stood panting. He slowly started to walk to the downed creature. He kneeled down and touched it. It suddenly sprang up and faced Naruto. But instead of the snarling and angry face that Naruto had faced seconds ago, the creature now had a smiling face. "Hello, young cub. I would like to inform you that you have just passed the Panther Clan summoning test," the newly named Panther said. Naruto looked confused at the Panther part. He had never heard of a Panther and that they had a clan. This is the Panther Clan. They are a summoning clan. Summons are usual animal or animalistic-like beings that are to be used by summoners X. U. The Panther Clan had their land taken away by the Toad Clan. They were supposedly wiped out, but I am guessing that they weren't, Kyuubi said. Naruto nodded in understatement. He looked at the Panther with questioning eyes. Where are we and why did you attack me?" Naruto said. The Panther remained and seemed to skulk towards Naruto. Naruto could see the strong muscles rippling under the smooth black skin. "This is the tomb of our summoning contract. When the Toad Clan took over our land, they slaughtered hundreds of us. We were forced into hiding. But that was hundreds of years ago. The panthers have been training and been growing in number. We have also been slowly taking back our land under the guise of a new summoning clan. I attacked you to test you. If you had died then I would have knew you were weak and not worthy. But since you survived our traps and managed to land a hit on me I knew that you were worthy. The panther said. Naruto nodded at the new information. It was a lot to take in at such a young age but he was still able to process it. So I guess I am your new summoner. So what's your name? Naruto asked. The panther sat down on its leg and looked at Naruto. My name is Mayanaka young cub. What is your name? The newly named Mayanaka asked. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto said. Mayanaka nodded. Well Naruto-san, I have to go for now. From now on I am your familiar. Summon me if you would like to talk or need me to battle. Also when you have enough chakra try to summon the boss. I would also advise you to not tell anyone about this experience. I have a feeling few would believe you. Mayanaka said before disappearing in a puff of smoke. Naruto stood looking at the puff of smoke in shock. He was still trying to get over the shock that he was now a summoner. Fucking panthers. Of all the summons in the world, it had to be the fucking panthers. Sometimes I think Kami just enjoys punishing me. What did I do Kami to deserve this? Kyuubi said. Naruto laughed at Kyuubi's distress and then collected himself. Naruto picked up the summoning scroll and sealed it into a storage seal. He then began to backtrack his way through the cave and arrived at the pit hole. But something weird had happened. It seemed like a ladder seemed to be carved out of the earth. It allowed Naruto to gain a foothold and climb out. Naruto climbed out of the cave and started to navigate his way back to the academy. If he had ever doubled back to the hole, he would have noticed that it was no longer there. No matter deep he would have dug or how hard he might have looked, Naruto would never be able to find the hole again. 10 minutes later, Iruka was in the middle of teaching his class. The first thing he noticed when they got back was that Naruto was now gone. He didn't know whether the Anbu took him away or was he just lost. All in all, Iruka really didn't care. Suddenly the door opened slowly. Naruto walked into the classroom. His shirt and pants were torn in several places. His right arm was wrapped completely. Naruto, where were you? Iruka asked with fake concern. Naruto shot a glare at Iruka and then walked up to his chair in the corner. As soon as he sat down the children that were directly next to him changed seats. Naruto sighed before laying his head down. Iruka decided to continue the lesson whether or not Naruto was paying attention. After the academy, Naruto had finally managed to escape the academy. It was official for him. He officially hated the academy. He thought it was going to a fun place where he learned to become a better ninja and meet new friends. But instead it was a place where the teachers hated him, they learned boring material and all of his classmates avoided him like the plague. Naruto was currently walking through the park to clear his mind. He saw several of his classmates playing with their friends and their parents watching free Putum afar. When the parents saw Naruto, they shot him dirty looks. Naruto decided now to make trouble and walked out of the park. Naruto was now currently walking through the streets of Konoha. He could see children playing with their parents, old friends talking with each other, and people just generally enjoying themselves. But when Naruto got into their sights everything changed. Their smiles would turn cold and they would turn defensive. They would start glaring at him. This did not make Naruto sad anymore. It mostly made him pissed. He knew why the villagers hated him and he thought it was a very stupid reason. He knew that he wasn't the Kyuubi, so why didn't they know? Naruto walked through the streets of Konoha with his mind lost in his thoughts. After 10 minutes he realized that he had actually arrived at his old apartment. It was left alone. Naruto decided to try and explore his apartment. Naruto walked up the burnt and crumbling stairs. The door was still open so Naruto walked right through. Naruto looked around his apartment. Burnt remains of his pictures hung from the wall. His bed was now a pile of ashes. Naruto sighed at the sight of his old apartment. I cannot allow this to happen again. Naruto said. You have a summoning contract you retard, fucking use it. Kyuubi said. Naruto blinked olishly at the surprisingly good idea and decided to go with it. He put on his training gear and suddenly rushed out of the apartment and dashed into the forest. The villagers looked confused as they saw a blur shot out of Naruto's apartment. Naruto ran into the forest avoiding the random tree or fallen log. Finally he arrived in a clearing that was relatively far from the village. He then bit his finger and went through the hand signs required for summoning. Naruto slammed his hand on the ground and a seal array appeared on the ground. A puff of smoke surrounded Naruto. The puff of smoke cleared to reveal Mayanaka. Naruto-san, I did not expect you to summon me so soon, Mayanaka said. Naruto ran up to Mayanaka and suddenly bowed to her. Mayanaka, will you please train me in the ways of the Panther clan? Naruto asked desperately. Mayanaka was taken back by the sudden question. She had never expected Naruto to ask for training at such a young age. But inwardly she smirked. This was her chance to mold the perfect summoner for the Panthers clan. Are you sure you can handle our training, Naruto? Panthers are very proud animals and will not accept a weak summoner. Mayanaka said. I can do it. Please, I can do it. I don't care how hard the training is, I can handle it. I just want to be strong. Naruto said. Mayanaka heard the conviction in Naruto's voice and smirked. She had found the perfect summoner. Now all she needed to do was to mold him. Okay. I will train you in the ways of the Panther clan. Mayanaka said. Naruto grinned. But what he didn't know was that Mayanaka was about to put him through some hellish training. Now the first thing you need to know is how panthers hunt. We are stealthy and strong. We strike when our opponent least expect it. We are unseen. When we strike we only strike once because all we need is one strike to kill. Mayanaka said. You need to learn how to use your stealth. You need to be able to hunt your prey without them knowing. You need to be able to kill in one strike. You need to be quick, strong and quiet. Mayanaka said. Naruto nodded in understatement. Unfortunately we cannot work on your strength because of your young age. But we can work on your speed and stealth. You are to run around the village without being. If you are seen then you will have to run another lap. I will be following. Now go. Mayanaka said. Naruto suddenly took off running back to the village. This was going to be a terrible experience for him. 5 hours later, Naruto sluggishly returned to the clearing he was originally in. He was forced to run 7 laps around the village. The first 3 laps Naruto was spotted immediately. After that it took about half the lap for him to be spotted. On the 7th lap, Naruto remained unspotted. Naruto lay down on the forest floor tired. Mayanaka skulked back into the forest clearing again with a smirk on her face. You did good, Naruto-san. I expected you to have more laps. It seems your stealth and speed is actually pretty good. Of course they are not up to Jaguar standard but are still good. Mayanaka said. This is the end of your training. Return back here tomorrow once you're finished your daily activities. Mayanaka said before disappearing in a puff of smoke. Naruto sighed and then picked himself up from the ground. He then started to trudge his way back into the village. By this time, it was night and the only ones that were still in the streets were partying civilians and ninjas. Naruto managed to get back to the Sarutobi complex. He managed to sneak into his room. He groggily took off his clothes and collapsed in bed. He was asleep before his head even hit the pillow. Naruto was currently sitting on top of the Hokage's tower. Since he had been struck by lightning, he had found high places very relaxing. It has been 6 months since Naruto had asked Monoyaka to start training him. It was one of the best and worst decisions in his life. He had grown greatly in the areas of speed and stealth. But each day he would go home dead tired. After Naruto managed to run around the village once without getting caught, Monoyaka had stepped up his training. He now had to run around the village in under 30 minutes while not getting caught by any guards or any other summons Naruto had forced to summon. If he was caught by the summons, they were to attack him as punishment. This task has proven very difficult for Naruto. Monoyaka was not joking about the other panther's stealth. Naruto used to go home each day with claw marks and scars running across his skin. Fortunately Kyuubi managed to heal them. Other than stealth and speed, Naruto had also improved in his electric powers. He was now able to slightly reduce and greatly increase the size of his electromagnetic field. This allowed him to attract different types of metals and stop them just inches from his body. Naruto had also started to learn techniques based off of his electricity. He was just starting to be able to manifest the electricity into different shapes. He was currently trying to manifest it into a whip. Naruto had also made a little progress with his sword. Mayanaka managed to teach Naruto the basic stances that any kenjutsu users needed to know. She had also taught Naruto to channel his chakra into his sword. Naruto was now just using his sword in his taijutsu. Of course, Naruto learned all of this outside of the academy. To Naruto, the academy was an entire waste of time. He had learned nothing that pertained to him becoming a better ninja. All he learned was basic history, math and science. But unfortunately Naruto had to attend it to appease Hiruzen. The only thing that was bad with Naruto was Kyuubi. He would constantly talk to Naruto through their mental link. These talks would usually include Kyuubi trying to convince Naruto to destroy the village and kill the villagers, or how he was going to tear him limb from limb as soon as he escaped. Today was October 10th. It was a Thursday, but Naruto was out of school. It was because today was the celebration of the defeat of the Kyuubi. Later that afternoon, the villagers would throw a festival celebrating the fourth Hokage and his victory over the Kyuubi. Now most people in the village enjoyed this festival. Unfortunately, Naruto was not one of these people. He was banned from attending the festival, and if he did, bad things happened. But today was different from Naruto. Unknown to most people, October 10th was Naruto's birthday. Usually Naruto would lock himself in his room at the orphanage while the festival went on. But today Naruto was actually attending a party thrown by Hiruzen. This was his first party and he was really excited. Naruto continued to stare down on the villagers as they continued to prepare for the festival. It seemed like this one was going to be very wild. 6 hours later, adults dancing, children laughing and playing, shinobi drinking, and everybody was having a good time. The streets of Konoha were filled with joy. Today they were celebrating the defeat of the Kyuubi. Mirth was all around the village as different acts and plays depicted the defeat of the Kyuubi, each one more outrageous than the other. It seemed like everybody in the village was outside enjoying themselves. But that was not true. 3 individuals were in the Sarutobi clan home. These 3 individuals were Hiruzen Sarutobi, Asuma Sarutobi, and Naruto Uzumaki. These 3 were currently celebrating Naruto's birthday. Make a wish, Naruto-kun. Hiruzen said. I wish I could kill you right now. Kyuubi said. Shut up. It's my birthday. Naruto thought. Naruto closed his eyes and blew out his 6 candles. Asuma and Hiruzen applauded him. They then presented the 2 presents they got him. Here you go, Naruto-kun. Hiruzen said. Naruto took the small box and unwrapped it carefully and slowly. He didn't want to break it because this was one of the first presents he had ever gotten. After unwrapping the box and opening, Naruto took out 2 gloves. Well, they were more like gauntlets considering the fact that it was mostly metal. These are to help you with your electric powers. The metal is highly sensitive to metal. So when you punch with them you can channel your lightning chakra through them. Hiruzen said. Naruto started in amazement at the new gloves. He put them on and immediately found they were too big. But suddenly he felt a prick on his arm and the gloves started to glow in a blue light. They then shrunk to fit snugly onto Naruto's hands. The gloves inside are lined with seals that help maintain their condition. It also has a seal that makes them shrink and grow according to your hand size. That prick you felt was it taking your blood. Now nobody but yourself will be able to use them. Hiruzen said. Naruto ran up and hugged Hiruzen for his new gift. Hiruzen chuckled and then returned the hug. After several seconds Naruto let go of the hug and ran to Asuma. Asuma presented his gift to Naruto. Naruto once again carefully unwrapped the gift again. His face split into a grin when he saw what the box contained. The box contained several sets of brand new kunais, shuriken and senbon. Each weapon had a different design that made them look amazing. Naruto ran up and hugged Asuma for the gift. Asuma laughed and returned the hug to Naruto. Once the hug was over, Hiruzen sealed Naruto's new weapons in a scroll. Naruto refused to take off the gloves, saying that they were too comfortable. Hiruzen and Asuma just chuckled at his possessiveness. Hey Naruto, how would you like to go out into the festival? Asuma asked. Naruto suddenly stopped and took on a thinking look. Usually he would try to avoid the festival in fear that something bad would happen. But with his training and with Asuma and Hiruzen, he doubted that anything bad would happen. Sure, Naruto said. Asuma grinned and led Naruto out of the house with Hiruzen in tow. As soon as they stepped outside, Hiruzen was swept away by a wave of drunk villagers. Asuma and Naruto decided to go without him. The first thing Asuma took him to was game booth. The object of the game was to try to knock down 5 bottles that were stacked on top of each other. Asuma gave the booth runner 5 yen for 5 balls. The balls were old and worn out. But they were perfect for Naruto. Naruto picked up the first ball and drew back his arm. His arm then shot forward, sending the ball in a bullet-like path. The ball crashed into the 5 bottles and sent them crashing to the floor. The ball crashed into the wall and fell to the floor. Naruto let out a cheer when he saw that he had won. The owner reluctantly gave Naruto his prize. It was a mini Kyuubi doll with its eyes as X's. Naruto handed it to Asuma, who sealed it into the seal that contained Naruto weapons. Naruto and Asuma decided to try another booth. When they arrived, Asuma once again paid the man that ran the booth. The man was about to give Naruto the darts but then got a closer look at his face. He immediately put the darts down and threw the money back at Asuma. "We do not serve his kind here," the man said with disgust in his voice. Asuma looked in anger at what the man said. Naruto also looked evenly as angry. "My father will be hearing about this," Asuma said. "Just get away from my stand, demon lover," the booth owner said. Naruto and Asuma walked away from the booth in anger. The next hour was filled with them trying different booths and getting the same reaction as before. Now it seemed that everybody had gotten aware of Naruto's presence at the festival and all eyes seemed to be on him. What is he doing here? Why is Asuma leading it around? That demon shouldn't be here. Those were just some of the whispers that managed to reach the ears of Naruto. And you wonder why I want to kill them, Kyuubi said. Naruto was progressively starting to regret coming to the festival. It had started off great with him winning his first game, but now the villagers were throwing him harsh glares. These seemed to be harsher than usual. Asuma-san, let's get out of here, Naruto said. Asuma looked down and frowned when he saw the upset look on Naruto's face. He slowly nodded and started to lead Naruto back to the Sarutobi compound. About halfway there, a wall of angry-looking civilians met them. Asuma-san, while I do respect you and your father, I have to ask why you are escorting this boy around, a civilian said. Asuma's eyes narrowed slightly. Unfortunately, Hirobi-san, that is none of your business. Now if you would excuse us, we have somewhere to go today, Asuma said. Asuma took a step forward, yet the wall of civilian did not move. Asuma's eyes once again narrowed. Unfortunately, Asuma, I cannot allow you to walk that boy around. It is an insult to all of the lives that were lost years ago, Hirobi said. I don't know why it is an insult, because this boy had nothing to do with those deaths. I know your ignorance and stupidity sometimes make that hard for you to see, Asuma said with a slight smirk on his face. Hirobi growled and took a step forward. He started to reach for Naruto but had his hand swatted away by Asuma. Give me the boy, Asuma. You know what he did to this village. How can you just let this demon run around the village as if he didn't do anything? Hirobi said. Asuma remained quiet for several seconds before his knives appeared in his hands. You just broke a law that is punishable by death. Now die, Asuma said before slashing at Hirobi's neck. Her boy fell to the ground clutching his neck. Blood started to run over his hands. Asuma silently stepped around the dying Hirobi and continued to lead Naruto back to the Sarutobi compound. The wall of civilians broke apart when they saw the dying Hirobi. Ah, the sight of blood is so beautiful, Kyuubi said. After several minutes they finally arrived at the compound. Asuma led Naruto back to his room and wished him good night. Naruto quickly fell to sleep. Asuma noticed that the light in his father's office was on, so he decided to tell him about the recent event. Asuma walked into the office to see Hiruzen going through a massive pile of paperwork. Hello to San, Asuma said. Hiruzen looked up and smiled when he saw Asuma was back. Hey Asuma-kun. How did you and Naruto enjoy the festival? I trust that nothing bad happened. Hiruzen said. Asuma's face took on a frown when he heard this. Everything was actually going well. Naruto had managed to win at one of the booths and got a prize. We decided to go to another booth to see if he could win another. Unfortunately, the owner refused to serve Naruto. Asuma said. Hiruzen frowned when he heard this. He would have to personally talk to that booth owner. The next hour was us just getting the same response from different people. We decided to leave but was confronted by several civilians. One of them foolishly called Naruto a demon. At that point I slashed his throat for disobeying your law. Asuma said. Hiruzen's frown became even deeper when he heard this. It seemed like Naruto's birthday had just been ruined by the stupidity of the villagers. Hiruzen stood up and walked to the window of his office. He had a good view of the village. The celebration and parties were still going on. One day these villagers will push him too far. When that point comes, I fear for Naruto and our village. Mostly our village, Hiruzen said. Asuma agreed and said goodbye to Hiruzen. He walked out of the office, leaving Hiruzen alone. Why can't you all learn? Hiruzen seemed to be asking the village. The next day, Naruto woke up, excited to test out his new weapons and gloves. The events of last night were completely gone. Today they were dismissed from the academy, so he had all day to train. Naruto immediately went charging into Asuma's room. He stood at the door and tried to listen if anybody was awake. After hearing nothing, he shrugged. Naruto raised his foot and kicked the door open. Two figures suddenly shot out of the bed. Both of the figures looked tired and frazzled. Naruto immediately recognized Asuma but did not recognize the women. From what he could see, she had black hair with red eyes. She looked to have a good figure from behind the covers. Naruto, why did you bust into my room? Asuma asked. Well, you were the last one to have my scroll with my weapons. I just wanted to practice with them. Naruto said. Asuma sighed in relief and then looked at the woman with an apologetic look. She nodded in understatement. Asuma got out of the bed with only his underwear on. Naruto followed him to his closet where Asuma pulled out his scroll. Just channel chakra into the scroll and all your stuff will come out. Asuma said. Naruto nodded and then started to talk out of the room. He got to the doorway and suddenly stopped. He slowly turned around with a large smile on his face. I didn't know you had a girlfriend, Asuma. I'm sure Oji-san would love to hear about this. Naruto said. Asuma and the women paled when they heard this. It seemed they both wanted their relationship to remain a secret. Naruto, you can't tell anyone about this. Asuma said. Naruto's smirks widened to a full-out blown grin. His eyes contained a mischievous look in them. If you want me to stay quiet, you are going to have to pay. Naruto said. Ask for the woman. I wouldn't mind raping her. Kyuubi said. Asuma sighed and then went back into his closet. He came out with a scroll. This scroll contains 3 Raiden jutsus. Is this enough? Asuma said. Asuma got his answer when Naruto snatched the scroll out of his hand and bolted out of the room. Have fun with Kurenai-chan, Asuma. Naruto shouted out from the hallway. Asuma sighed and then jumped back into the bed. Kurenai still seemed to be in shock at Naruto's appearance. So that's Naruto, Kurenai said in shock. Asuma nodded. He seems very hyper. Kurenai said. Asuma nodded once again. With Naruto. Naruto ran on top of the many buildings of Konoha. Today he was free from training from Mayanaka. It seemed like the Jaguar clan was having a meeting. So Naruto was trying to find a place to train with his new powers. Keep going straight, Kyuubi suddenly said. Naruto seemed confused at the sudden talk but nonetheless decided to follow it. He continued going straight. As he continued, he noticed that the buildings seemed to become less and less frequent. After 5 minutes, Naruto finally arrived at his location. In front of him stood a gigantic gate that seemed to run along for miles. What is this place? Naruto asked to himself. This is the Forest of Death. The plant and wildlife have grown to massive proportions due to Hashirama's residue chakra. When I attacked 6 years ago, my chakra sped up the process, so the animals in here should be extremely dangerous. This is your survival training, Kyuubi said. Naruto gulped in fear when he heard this. Now Naruto was confident in his skills to a certain extent. But now he was about to face animals and creatures that have been infected by Kyuubi's and the first Hokage's chakra. This was going to be hard. Well, get in there, brat. No time like today, Kyuubi said with mirth in his tone. Naruto groaned and then jumped over the massive fence. He landed on the ground, crouched in a defensive position. He stood still as his eyes tried to take in as much as they could. Once he made sure nothing was about to attack him, his stance relaxed. Naruto slowly began to walk through the forest. He could hear the wildlife around him but couldn't see them. He could also see the effects of Kyuubi's and the first Hokage's chakra. He could see gigantic spider web and bird's nest. Squirrels the size of a man scurried along the forest floor. It was very weird for Naruto. Naruto was still making his way through the forest when he heard a crack come from behind him. He turned around quickly and saw a gigantic spider flying towards him. Naruto used his speed to slide under the gigantic spider. The spider landed and then turned around to Naruto. Naruto could see all 8 of its eyes staring at him intently. Naruto grinned and then held up his gloves. Sparks started to come flying off of him. The spider let out a hiss before flying back at Naruto. Naruto stood still and waited for the spider to get close. He quickly sidestepped it and punched the spider in its body. The spider went flying sideways into a tree. The spider wobbled back onto its feet and seemed to be dazed. It shook its head before suddenly sent a spider web at Naruto. Naruto, surprised by the speed of the spider web, took a direct hit by it. The spider web roughly slammed him into a tree and stuck him to it. The spider began scurrying towards Naruto while Naruto struggled to escape. The spider finally got close to Naruto and opened its mouths to eat Naruto. Naruto could see the rows of teeth and the spit that was in the spider's mouth. Naruto started to grunt as he channeled chakra around his body. The sparks started to come off of his body more visibly. Suddenly the web burst forward with a flash of heat and electricity. The spider let out a hiss as it was hit by the heat and electricity. Naruto fell to the ground as the heat was freed from the web. He walked up to the slightly smoking and twitching. He walked up the spider and raised his hand. He slammed it into the spider's head, ending its life. Naruto stood up with a sigh. He was glad that was over. Naruto suddenly gasped when he heard several hissings from behind him. He turned around and saw over 20 spiders heading towards him. Naruto gulped when he saw the massive amount of spiders. I bet you planned this. Naruto thought to Kyuubi. Mibe. Kyuubi said teasingly. Why does it have to be spiders? Why can't it be butterflies or flowers? Naruto said out loud. Naruto started to channel his chakra to his hand and charged at the spiders. The spiders all hissed at him and started to charge at him. Naruto reached the first spider and sent an uppercut that launched the spider up into the air. Naruto immediately had to dodge several balls of webs that weren't sent his way. Naruto ducked and rolled as tons of spider webs were sent flying his way. He stood out of his roll and raised his hand. A lightning bolt came flying out his. The lightning flew true through the air and hit a spider. The spider fell to the ground dead. Naruto unsealed his new kunai and held them in his hands. Several spiders were running towards him. Naruto threw the kunai and they flew through the air. The kunai hit the spiders and sent them to the ground. They slowly got back up and continued running towards Naruto. But meanwhile Naruto was going through hand signs. Lightning release. Chain lightning. Naruto yelled out. Naruto raised his hand and a bolt of lightning shot out of it again. It hit the nearest spider right where the kunai was. It fell to the ground twitching. Instead of stopping there, the lightning continued to the next spider that had a kunai in it. The lightning continued this pattern before it discharged when there were no more remaining spiders. Naruto huffed and looked at the remaining spiders. They all seemed really pissed at him. He smirked and then started to taunt the spiders. What? Are you too scared now? Ha! You spiders are pathetic, Naruto said. The spiders stood still as Naruto continued to taunt them. Unknown Naruto, their queen spider, was currently standing behind Naruto. And Naruto had just killed some of her children. I guess I showed those spiders a thing or two, Naruto said. The queen spider's shadow slowly consumed Naruto. Naruto remained unaware of the danger. Naruto heard a giant hiss come from behind him. He slowly turned around to see a humongous spider. It was bigger than all the rest of the spiders. "Aw shit," Naruto said. The spider let out one more hiss before charging at Naruto. Naruto was about to jump back but remembered that he still had other spiders behind him. Naruto jumped up and landed on top of the queen spider's head. The spider looked up in confusion as Naruto ran along its body. The smaller spider jumped onto the queen spider in an attempt to get Naruto. Naruto looked back and noticed that the other spiders were now chasing after him. He skidded to a stop and faced the remaining spiders. He started to go through hand signs and then slammed his hands onto the spider's back. Lightning release. Discharge, Naruto said. Sparks came flying off of Naruto's hand and onto the queen spider's back. The sparks traveled to the running spiders. 2 of the 10 spiders jumped into the air to avoid the electricity. The remaining 8 were electrocuted. His jutsu also had the effect of stunning the queen spider. The queen spider fell to the ground as its legs gave out under it. Naruto and the spider were sent tumbling. Naruto got up and looked up at the 2 remaining spiders. Naruto unsheathed his sword. He drew his arm back and sent the sword flying. The sword flew through the air at high speeds. The dazed spider had no chance to dodge the sword as it sank into his stomach. The spider fell down dead as the blade rattled in its stomach. The last remaining spider hissed angrily as its last comrade lay dead beside it. The spider began to charge at Naruto with intense speed. Naruto lay still with a smirk on his face. The spider got closer and closer as Naruto stood still. Suddenly, when the spider was about 10 feet away from Naruto, Naruto's chakra exploded outward. Sparks could be seen flying from his skin. The spider was momentarily shocked by the sudden explosion of chakra but still continued its charge. Naruto still waited patiently with a smirk as the spider came closer. The spider suddenly lunged to kill Naruto. But had Naruto's sword suddenly pierced through its head. The sword cut completely through the spider's head before flying into Naruto's hand. Naruto smirked and then yelled in excitement. Electromagnetic pull is so awesome, Naruto said to himself. Naruto was suddenly thrown off of the spider's body by its sudden movement. He roughly slammed into the ground as the queen spider scurried away. Naruto looked in confusion as the queen spider ran away. He shrugged in defeat when he saw there was nothing to do. Well, that was exciting, Naruto said. Naruto walked towards the dead bodies of the spider and collected his kunai. They seemed to shake out of the bodies and zip towards Naruto. Naruto would catch them in midair before putting back into his holster. Naruto was walking back to the entrance of the forest with a confident smile on his face. He had faced a powerful enemy and managed to defeat it. He only wished that he were able to fight that big spider. Naruto suddenly stopped as he heard a whizzing through the air. Suddenly 3 kunai buried themselves in the tree that was right in front him. He suddenly felt a prick on the back of his neck. Now what is a brat like you doing in my forest? A feminine voice said from behind Naruto. Naruto stood completely still as the kunai was pressed into his skin. He could feel it trying to go deeper and deeper into him. I was just training, Naruto said nervously. Naruto closed his eyes, hoped that the excuse would work. Naruto suddenly felt himself spin and he was slammed ruthlessly into a tree. He opened his eyes and then they widened in surprise. Hey, you're that girl that saved me from the villagers once, Naruto said in surprise. Stun her, tear the clothes from her bodies and rape her. I demand it, Kyuubi said. Now that Naruto got a clear look of the woman, he recognized her. Sei had light brown pupil-less eyes and violet hair, which was styled in a short, spiky fan ponytail. She has a tan overcoat and a fitted mesh bodysuit that stretches from her neck to her knees. She was also wearing dark orange mini skirt. Naruto could see her forehead protector through her hair. He could also see she had a snake pendant hanging from her neck. The girl squinted her eyes at Naruto when she heard him talk. She started intently for several seconds before her eyes widened. Yaki, Anko suddenly said before wrapping Naruto in a very powerful hug. Naruto was smashed into the girl's developing breasts. Instead of resisting, Naruto gave into the hug and was crushed between the girl's breasts. After several seconds of torture pleasure for Naruto, the woman released Naruto from the hug and held him from arm lengths. I haven't seen you since that day I saved you. Have you gotten your ass kicked lately? Anko asked Naruto. Naruto chuckled at the light insult. Actually no. I have been training so that won't happens again. If I do say so myself, I think I'm pretty strong. Naruto said with a proud look on his face. Anko laughed and let Naruto fall to the ground. She then looked at the bodies of the dead spiders and whistled in appreciation. It looks like you did a number on those spiders. Anko said. Naruto puffed his chest out in pride when he heard Anko regarding his work. So Gaki, do you have anything planned for the day? Anko asked with a mischievous tone. Actually, after fighting those spiders I am done for today, Naruto said with a tired tone. Anko's face suddenly took on a massive grin before grabbing Naruto's arm and running through the forest while dragging Naruto with her. Well, you are treating me to dango. Anko said. Naruto sighed and decided to just go with the flow. 10 minutes. Naruto looked in amazement as Anko wolfed down plates of dango. It was almost on par with the amount of ramen Naruto eats himself. Anko finished the last stick of dango on her plate before sitting back with a content smile. She shot back up and looked at Naruto with an intense look. So how have you been, Gaki? I heard you messed up some genin and civilians. That's really impressive for a brat like yourself. Anko said with a smirk on her face. Naruto grinned in pride when he heard the news. Well, this brat you're looking at is going to be the strongest ninja in the world soon. Naruto said. Anko laughed at Naruto's bold proclamation. The two then sat there talking for an hour, enjoying themselves. Suddenly 3 ninja entered the dango bar. Each one of them were genin and seemed to be Anko's age. They all walked up to the bar and started to order dango. While waiting they turned around to look who was in the bar. Their eyes fell onto Anko and Naruto and they all smirk. They collectively got up and approached the table. Naruto and Anko were still talking and eating dango unaware of the 3 approaching genin. The 3 genin arrived at the table and stood in front of it. Naruto and Anko still talk unaware of the presence of the 3 genin. One of the genin started to get impatient and slammed his hand onto the table. Hey snake bitch. I knew you didn't have any friends but I never knew you would stoop so low as to hang with the demon. The genin said. Are you going to let these idiots insult your woman? Kyuubi said. Naruto and Anko looked up at the obviously stupid genin. Anko fist clenched when she saw whom it was. Kenshi. Leave me the fuck alone. Anko gritted out. The newly named Kenshi laughed at Anko's anger. He then leaned down and started to talk into Anko's face. What are you going to do about it if I don't? You know you can't hit me. You traitor of a master made sure that. All you can do is cry and sit down like the bitch yo. Kenshi was interrupted by Naruto's fist into his face. He was rocketed out the stand and into the streets. Don't you ever talk about Anko-chan like that. Naruto yelled. The 2 remaining genin looked in shock as Naruto's fist crackled with electricity. The 2 snapped out of their shock before pulling out their kunais. Naruto grinned and then increased his chakra. The 2 genin's kunai started to shake in their hands. The kunai flew out of their hand and into Naruto's hand. Naruto smirked and then dived at the 2 genin. One of the genin was still in shock that his kunai was now with Naruto. This caused him to get a cut along his waist. He fell to the floor clutching his wound. The other genin managed to dodge the strike. The genin started to go through hand signs for a fire jutsu. Naruto seeing this knew he had to get him out of the shop. Naruto channeled an extreme amount of chakra into his muscles and shot off towards the genin. He threw a haymaker into his chest, which sent the genin rocketing into the streets. The genin slammed through the curtains and into the streets. He slammed ruthlessly into the wall of another building. He fell to the ground unconscious. Naruto stood in the dango bar with his fist outstretched. When he heard the satisfying crack of human against wall, Naruto relaxed. He was suddenly swept up into the arms of Anko. Ah, my little hero saved me. Anko said with a sweet tone in her voice. Naruto blushed as Anko swung him back and forth. She then dragged him over to the table and slammed him back into his seat. Now you are going to sit here and enjoy dango with. Anko said. Naruto nodded happily and enjoyed his plate of dango. Couple hours later, Naruto and Anko had spent the whole entire day together, first eating dango, then going on to ramen, and then pranking the villagers. It was the most fun both of them have had in a while. Unfortunately, Naruto was still a child, so he became tired after a while. Anko saw this and decided to take him on. When she asked where he lived, she was surprised to learn that he lived in the Sarutobi clan. Nevertheless, she took him home. Currently, Anko was sitting in front of the Sarutobi's clan home. She had knocked several seconds ago and was now waiting for someone to answer. Suddenly, Asuma opened the door. His eyes immediately shot to Naruto and anger started to fill in them. But then he saw Anko and calmed down. He figured Anko wouldn't do anything to hurt Naruto. Anko, what are you doing with Naruto? Did he cause anyone trouble? Asuma asked worriedly. Anko chuckled at Asuma's worry. Nah, the brat and me just spent the day messing around. He's just tired, Anko said. Asuma sighed in relief that Naruto was okay. He carefully took him off of Anko. Well, tell the brat I said hi and meet me back in that spot when he wants to hang out. Bye. Say hi to Kurenai for me, Anko said before shunshing away. Asuma sighed when he heard that someone else knew about his secret. He went back into the house and laid Naruto down. He then went back to his bedroom where he saw Kurenai still lying in bed. He hopped back into the bed. Who was that? Kurenai asked. Just someone dropping Naruto off, Asuma sighed. Kurenai shrugged and then started to cuddle up to Asuma. Also, Anko